Welcome to the On the Rise podcast, where we talk about time freedom, passive investing through real estate, finance, mindset, and how to integrate your faith into your work. Let's dive in. Quick disclaimer as always, I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney or a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm not telling you or anyone else what to do. The views and opinions expressed in these podcasts are provided for education and informational purposes only and are not necessarily the views of my employer. Welcome to the On the Rise podcast. I'm your host, Nick Stromwall. We've got a really exciting guest here today, one of the three co-founders of Rise 48. Welcome to the show, Robert Szewczyk.
Great to be here. Thank you, Nick. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. Excited to hear more of your story. Gotten to know you several times as I've been through the corporate office, and we got to sit across the table from each other at dinner at one of the last events. And just the little glimpse of some of the story that you got to share made me feel like we got to get Robert on this show. He's got to share more. So, just for our audience, in case you don't know, Robert is one of the co-founders, and he's also the designated broker at Rise 48. And maybe you can just unpack what that means and a little bit more about how you and the rest of the team started the company.
Yeah, of course. So I've been in real estate for a long time, as long as I remember. It's probably going on 18 years now. But between my wife and I, we've been buying properties and renting them out, and we're trying to do all this ourselves. And we got to the point where we simply ran out of our own money, and then kind of like pointed us to the directions like, hey, we need to find some kind of partners if we need to move forward and expand our portfolio. And in 2018, a long story, but in 2018, I met Zach at one of the conferences in Dallas, and it was quick discussions like, hey, where are you from? I'm Arizona. Oh, no way. We're in Arizona. I'm in Scottsdale. I'm in Phoenix. All right, that's awesome. Let's go back to the valley and let's meet up for the coffee, and then we'll go from there. So that's exactly what happened. We met at the one of the local coffee shops in here, and he laid down his plan. I laid out my plan. We kind of like have two visions, and it was kind of, we're either going to compete or we're going to join forces. So we're like, let's try to date right before we get married. Let's see if we can get something together. And it's been interesting. It's been weeks and weeks and months trying to find a deal first, and then once the two of us found a deal, we tried to underwrite it. We spent numerous times on underwriting the deal, and then I remember the first time when the seller said, with the broker said that our LOI was accepted, the LOI, letter of intent, was accepted. We're like, oh my God, what do we do now? And it was a kind of like a reality check. And now it's actually, we have to go through it. So, we found our partners. We found background in a way in the process, and other partners. We bootstrapped the first deal. It was 36 doors out of GCU, a little closer to GCU in Phoenix, and then bought another property in Napa, and then started raising money. So, everything started in 2018. It seems now it's like a long time, but I remember almost every single property, every single day. It's amazing. And today, like we at some point we grew to the size that we decided that we need to bring the property management in-house. And my background was I'm an architect. I finished architecture in Poland and got my diploma in Poland, and I got my secondary diploma from London. It's called the Royal Institute of British Architects. And when I first came to the United States, I started working as an architect in Pennsylvania, and then I transitioned into real estate. But it was kind of natural, like I'm going to probably lead the way in the construction kind of way because of the background, because I also worked for a little over 2 years in the construction field. So it gave me some background, and I was able to transition to this a little better. Then the three of us had complementary skills. Background brings a lot of financials. Zach brings the knowledge of how to run the business. He used to run the business. He used to work with people. He was with the hospice here, so he knew how to structure the businesses, how to actually move forward. And then, yeah, I became the designated broker for the property management company when we decided to bring the property management in-house. And I got my general contractor license. So I also have a GC license for the construction arm. So kind of like everything is pretty much vertically integrated right now. We control every, every aspect of the operations right now.
It's amazing. It's almost like if you're familiar with the cartoon Captain Planet, you have these different elements coming together, but when they come together, you get the superhero. So it seems like that's what's been formed with the three of you. When it comes to having that architecture background, or now being the designated broker, or even having your GC license, how do you use those skills on a basis, day in day out basis? What does that look like with your role now?
Well, for the property management, I want to make sure that everything we do on the property management side is compliant with the local laws. We have operations here in Arizona, we have operations in North Carolina and in Texas, in Dallas. So overseeing some of the aspects of the property management from the legal standpoint. I'm not very involved in the day to day. We have built our team. At the very beginning, the three of us did everything ourselves. Like we all wear different hats, and we were doing literally everything. Today, we have a little over 300 employees, and we have built our teams where some of the local problems at the property level usually don't even reach us anymore. It gets to the point when things are being escalated and it goes to the, let's say, state level. Then the state, they will look it up who is actually in charge, and those cases will end up in my lab. I'm actually dealing with one case right now, and so usually I'm right there to make sure everybody's in compliance. And I was just emailing our regional in North Carolina about the procedures, and making sure that everybody across the board does the same. And so every 2 years I have to renew my license, which is a very good reminder of what needs to happen, and the laws change constantly. So yeah, pretty much overseeing the operations from a high level, and then meeting with our teams, like the teams that are on the property level, once in a while to get some updates. That's very helpful too. But yeah.
Awesome. I've got several questions for you. One of them is just you're from Poland. What caused you to want to come to the U.S., and tell us a little bit more about what was life like growing up, and what really sparked the dream of coming to America?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you ask my mom, she'll tell you that I always wanted to be in Canada, and actually, I am also Canadian. But my wife, she's Canadian. She's born in Poland, but she's Canadian. But I grew up in Poland, and Poland was a communist country at the time. So growing up in a communist country, I always had this drive and desire to get out, and wanted to be in a country somewhere outside of Poland. I always knew it's gonna. And that was like I didn't know how I'm gonna do it, how it's gonna happen. I just put this vision in my head. I have to get to United States or Canada, and I'm gonna make it. No idea how, but it will happen. And yeah, growing in communist is not fun. We didn't really have a lot of resources, especially like in the 80s. I remember as a small boy. Um, there's not a lot of things in the store. So my God, I remember it was just maybe vinegar, and everything was rations, and it's be 1 kilo of sugar per month, and everything was rationized. And it was just very weird for a child. It was weird because I wanted to have a chocolate and couldn't get it, and I wanted to have a sugar, couldn't get it. I remember times when we wouldn't have toilet paper, and I remember my mom would stand up, and we had like the magazines, and so she would just like try to rough it up so I can actually use it as a toilet paper, because there was no toilet paper. So, but well, I used to have a lot of friends, and at the time, and we would. It was weird because the money had no value, so we had to trade to get to certain points. So if you want to have let's say we found one or two rolls of toilet paper, we would go and trade it with someone for a bottle of vodka, and we'll get the bottle of vodka. We'll trade it for a carton of cigarettes, and then we'll get the cigarettes, which is like it was just boarding all the time and moving, trading things, and so starting with the two toilet papers, you may end up with a bike or TV. It's just like it was just very very weird. But it was we would hustle all the time. We would just run and we just give this, get that, and so what did you have? Would you meet at the end of the day? So I have this, I have this. Okay, let's change this for that. Let's find someone who wants this. Let's find someone who wants this. It was to us it was fun. It was exciting because, but we knew somehow in the back of our head that the money had no value. You could have money and you couldn't buy anything because you couldn't buy anything. When you went to the store, there was no meat, there was nothing. Like everything was just like really bad. So at some point, you want to get out of this system, right? The Poland transition into the socialism called socialism, socialist democrat socialist system. But today today Poland is completely different. But yeah, it's not fun. And we actually had this kind of discussion this morning about this because I feel like I've been trying to run away from socialism my entire life, and it seems like everywhere I go, that that failing system is following me everywhere I go. Um, uh, I remember a few years back, my wife and I would sit and we would listen to Bernie Sanders speak on the stage. I don't want to turn this into a political thing, but the things that he was saying. I was telling my wife, oh my God, I remember this. This is from like '80s. This is like from like it's the same book that the Politburo was reading. It's the same things, and we were like, this will never catch on in America. I don't think Americans are that stupid to believe that this is the way to go. And as we saw him rising in the ranks and the parties gaining popularity, I was like, this is horrible. This is not happening. So yeah, it seems like everywhere I go, that system is following me.
Thanks for sharing that. It must have been, on one hand, really challenging as a kid to just probably be wondering, "Will I have enough? Can we go to the store? Will there be the things that we need?" And then, in college, we played a similar type of game. We called it bigger or better. You'd start with a paper clip or a penny, and you'd go door to door, and you try to level up. And maybe you've seen these before, and people have ended up from that penny, with a car or even a house. It's kind of crazy. But like you were doing that probably real life though, so it's a big difference of it being a game versus it being for your livelihood. And there is something special. We're coming up on the 250th celebration of America, so there's something special about the freedom of capitalism and free market and all of the blessings and benefits that come with it. So that's
100%. And yeah, and then people say like, hey, this system is better. I think human nature has tendencies that the grass is always greener on the other side. How to say it? And I want to say, well, if you think that, just water your own grass and we'll just get as green as your neighbors. You don't have to go anywhere else. So if we just take care of this country, this is like if somebody asked me, I was asked this question this morning, so would you move back to Europe or would you move back to Poland? I don't think I could. I've been Americanized to the point I go visit Poland. I was just there for the summer, spent some time with my mom. She's not doing well health wise, and after 2 weeks, I'm just like, yeah, this is not my home anymore. I just want to go back, and home is here. So, United States and the opportunities that it gives to everybody, it's just amazing. It truly is.
For sharing all that. You went from a master's in architecture, which is a very prestigious degree, to building $1 billion real estate portfolio. How did you pivot from architecture to multifamily real estate?
Yeah, I think it was early 2000s when my wife and I we picked up the book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a very familiar story for a lot of people that I have met in the real estate vertical. But we read the book, and it was like a mind shifting experience. Like, wait, what? I can buy the real estate and build a portfolio. And what is a passive income? And you have to remember that for me, for being an immigrant, I didn't know a lot of words. I didn't know the lingo, the equity, the passive income. None of that rang any bell to me. It's like, what is that thing? So, I have spent a lot of time studying, and I didn't know how I'm going to do it, but I wanted to do it. And just I remember one time I just went and I just decided to quit architecture, move to the real estate. Didn't know how, so I got my real estate license, and I started working in a local office as a realtor. I was exposed in that office to both residential and the commercial side, and then yeah, we started by real estate slowly between my wife and I, and wanted to build a passive income, and that's it. And just like we never stopped, we kept growing, and we got to the point where we are today.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I talk to more and more people that, culturally have some of the most prestigious degrees, engineering, architecture, medical, and even though those are some of the highest, income production jobs, there's still a draw to, multifamily real estate or passive investing through hard assets. And I think there's something special about this space, and it seems like, this is the faith driven, aspect of the On the Rise podcast. There's something about building a business and using real estate, those two things, that holds kind of the keys to really producing opportunities and resources, because a lot of people have a vision to do something more than just be a good provider or get their kids through college. Like there's something more behind what people want to do. After you read that book, what was some of the things that you started developing a vision for, of how you wanted to use your resources?
No, that's a good question. And one of the things in the book that struck me is it was saying that a person that has a one house and it just lives in it, it's very very selfish at the end of the day. But if you, as an investor, can buy two, three, four homes, you actually are providing housing to someone. Yes, you're going to benefit from it. You're going to build a passive income and build the generational wealth, hopefully for your kids. It's something that you want to leave to your kids. But at the same time, you're also giving an opportunity to people to use it and to live there. And if you're a good tenant, and you're being led by the faith, you're going to be good tenant and you're going to take care of your residents because they're taking care of your house. You're providing a housing. You are actually doing a lot more than just that person who has one house and lives in it, and which again I never thought about it like that's not selfish, but yeah, it kind of is, right? You're just it's just me, myself, and I. I have the house. That's all. We're building opportunities for people to live in hopefully better communities. We buy value add properties which are oftentimes mismanaged or they need some work, and we come in, we provide value, we renovate them and make the living experience a lot better for the residents. There's a beneficial part of it to us and to investors, but at the same time, we're also providing a lot better opportunity for residents to live in the environment that is now safer, better, newer. So I think everything it was a very good, it's a feel good business, and I was like, wow, I could do that. That's great. If we could help ourselves to build generational wealth in our investors, but at the same time provide a value to people, to residents, and share that with them, make their life better too. That was very appealing.
Yeah, that's great. You shared a story with me at dinner of some of the first properties that you kind of visited or walked. What's it been like for you, kind of viewing some of the properties, and how has that shaped who you are today?
Yeah, some of early on, I mean, like I said, we're buying value add properties, and some of the properties that we've visited at the very beginning, they're just not in a good shape sometimes. And I remember, again, today we have a team that walks till today we walk every single property. We visit we open every single door with the team and with our construction crew, and to make sure to, what we're going to be renovating, what will be the scope. But at the very beginning, it was pretty much Zach and I walking with the teams. We would just split in 2 or 3 teams, and we just like walking. I would walk every apartment, and I remember walking to an apartment, and the conditions sometimes that I saw people lived in, especially, I don't want to say it. I don't care that much about adults. I do, but once you see the kids living in conditions that are like, this is beyond. And I had this discussion with my son, and I showed him the pictures, and because he kept asking me, and it was just terrifying. I remember after one, yeah. It was a couple that was absolutely stoned. They were completely out, lying on a bed, half naked, and I think they had like 4 or 5 kids. One was sleeping somewhere on the floor. One was in a bathtub. One was in a drawer, open drawer, literally in the drawer, and it was a human feces. It was just so bad. The stench was just like, it was just impossible. Um, these kids were well, it was just, it was bad. So I left. I remember I left and I went back to the office. We didn't own the property yet. We were during that was during the due diligence, and I went back to the office and I told them to call Child Protective Services, which they did, and the police came. Everybody came, and yeah, I remember the family members came, and as if everybody woke up and started threatening us, and especially me, like, "Hey, call the police," and yada yada yada. But yeah, just things that we've seen sometimes. It was just, oof, it's bad. So that's, yeah. I'm very sensitive about kids. Like I said, I don't care about the adults. Like, hey, you're an adult, whatever you want to do in your life. I mean, you shouldn't be doing this. And if there is a way for us to help, that's great. But the kids, they don't know any better. We put them in this situation, and we're here to protect them. And seeing parents not caring at all, it just breaks my heart. I've seen some things like this in Poland too. I remember being I was in high school. Um, there was this we called it House of Open Doors. It was like a community. It was created by Catholic priests. Catholics are pretty much like 99% of Poland, and uh, I got involved in that in that open house because it was I was volunteer with my friend. His name was Dominic. We would go and help the priest because he would take care of kids that were abused, kids from homes that just parents didn't care. And I've been seeing things that, whew, like there would be like 14-year-old girl come out, knock on the door at like 1 o'clock in the morning because half naked, like completely half naked, with snowing. Parents threw her out and said like, "Hey, don't come back if you don't bring a bottle of vodka." It was just insane. It was just absolutely insane. And the priest who was running this House of Open Door is he would just every penny we would just start raising money. We would just fundraise for anything we could help. Would fundraise for to buy bread, milk, like basic things. And the priest was sleeping on the floor. So we had some visitors sometimes and sponsors from different businesses, and it's like, "Oh, you're sleeping actually on the floor." I was like, "Yeah, it's okay. It doesn't bother me. I just want to use every resource to help the kids, not myself. I'm here just a vessel, right? I'm just trying to help because look what's happening." So I remember one sponsor bought him a bed. So the bed was delivered. It was put in his office, and it was, thank you very much. Thank you, I appreciate that. They would leave, and the priest would sell the bed next day. Went back on the floor and used the money to buy more food. It was very challenging. Well, I don't want to say challenging, but it was eye opening time in my life when especially in this communist Poland when everybody had equally bad, everybody was equally screwed, everybody was equally poor, because that's a system that doesn't create all the only political level gets benefits of the system. Everybody else is equally. There's no equally rich. It's equally poor. And so I knew that we had bad, but then I saw those kids. I was like, wow, I have good, because I didn't expect kids could have that. That was just insane. So that experience, and then later on in the United States, when I saw some of the apartments that we walked, I was like, yeah, if I had to, if I left this job ever and wanted to, let's say not left, but let's say I have resources and have so much money, so what would I want to do in life? I'll probably start an organization helping kids.
I'm Zach Haptonstall, CEO and co-founder of Rise 48 Equity. Our goal is to help you protect and grow your wealth by investing in large multifamily apartment buildings. We do all the work as far as sourcing these large apartment buildings from the brokers, doing all of the on-site management with our vertically integrated property management company, doing all the renovations with our vertically integrated construction company. We completely rebrand the exteriors. We will renovate the interiors to our full platinum level scope, which increases the value of the asset to get that profit margin for the investors. If you'd like to learn about how you can partner with us on these exciting opportunities, and go to our website and set up a call with our team.
Oh yeah, I hear your passion for it, and I think as leaders, we're often given way more than we need, right? As leaders, as faith-driven leaders, because I think God gives us opportunities to help and serve people, and sometimes it's at the scale of creating an organization, and sometimes it's last week I was walking into Walgreens and I had to split $100 bill. I had $100 bill and I had to split it because I needed to pay for the dog groomer. And as I'm going in, there's a family in kind of a broken down car saying, "Hey, do you have any spare change?" And I said, "I don't right now. Sorry, I can't help you." And I was in the store, I think I bought a pack of gum or something for $5. And I walk out, I've got $35. I needed $60 for the dog groomer. And I just felt like this Holy Spirit, like, just be generous, Nick. And normally, like, I've been burned, like, giving people cash because who knows what they're going to do with it. But every once in a while, like, you get that spirit, that small, still voice, and it tells you to do something. And I did. And I was like, hey, it's gonna sound weird, but I think I'm supposed to give this to you. Have a blessed day. I mean, something simple. It wasn't like here's a Bible verse or a Bible or in Jesus' name. I didn't say any of that. It was just simple. Hey, I just want to bless you. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate what it means to serve, and sometimes we think it needs to be a big check with lots of zeros or a big thing, and sometimes it's $35 to a stranger, or you're baking a batch of cookies, you bake two and you bring one over the neighbor, right?
Mhm.
So that's really cool that that you've got a passion for kids. Where do you think that came from? That passion for kids?
Well, from this experience seeing the abused kids, I would start if I had resources and want to do something, all over. I would just kids from abused homes, kids that are neglected, kids that run away from adults, and giving them opportunity to have a equal start. Yeah, just seeing how actually kids could be abused in real life and experiencing this in my own eyes. Yeah, and the perspective changes when you have your own kids, because then you look at your own kids and like, wait, my son, my sweet cute little thing, could live like that, or there's child that is like no difference than him, no different, but experiencing what he should not be experiencing. That's just, yeah. This combined with it, like it, human trafficking, like everything that's going on in the world right now, it's just so awkward. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So tell us a little bit more about your family. I want to say you have 3 children. Is that right?
Hmm. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I have 3 children. Olivia is 23 now, and Anya, she's a middle girl. She's 18. Robert Jr. is almost 13. So we have kids every 5 years, which is kind of like not logistically, it's not well thought through. I was always laughing that I could never work for FedEx because it's logistically they're very organized. I'm like every 5 years, kids. I don't know. We were talking with this. I was talking to my wife about this some time ago, and I was like, like you get into diapers, and then you almost out of the diapers, and then you get sucked into diapers again. I wish we had three kids almost like back to back because it's a little hard at the beginning, but then, you know, everything gets easier down the road. For us, it was like every 5 years we get sucked in back to the diapers, and then the traveling was hard, the skiing was hard because the one could almost ski, but the little guy had to be. So it was like you go and I stay home. I stay home, then you go. It's like I just want to spend time with my wife. And it was always hard because we always had to split up teams, and so yeah, having kids every 5 years. I told my daughter, it's like, hey, how many kids do you want to have? I don't know. So it's like 3, 4, maybe 5. And it's like back to back, honey, back to back. It's gonna be hard, but we're here to help you. And then yeah, we'll all raise them up, and just it's gonna be easier. It's gonna be chaotic at the beginning, but yeah.
Joys and challenges. Life is seasons. So yeah, we were
100%.
we were in diapers. We had our 3 boys. We took a little break, and we have Rosemary, and she's just getting out of diapers now. But it's been great because our 14-year-old is watching our 3-year-old now, and that dynamic
Yeah, that
in a lot of ways. But
that did happen too. Yeah.
I can see you. I can see. Okay, so real estate has cycles. Real wins and real losses, real stress. Tell me about a season when a deal or the market humbled you. What was God teaching you in that season?
Oh boy, I've had many situations like this on way before Rise 48 with my own rental properties, and I've had people dying and body decomposing, and you name it. It was just like all over the place. Those are problems you deal with, but I think the past few years, as you watch the market, has been challenging, definitely for the real estate, especially with the rising interest rates. And it seems like for the past few years we've been on the defense, and I'm just like we're very, very anxious and eager to get out of the defense and be on the offense again. It's been challenging. We sit on a lot of properties. We sit on a lot of equity. We'd like to start selling them and cycle through, and it's not a good time. So we're just waiting a little bit for the time to come back. But we're using this time to gain our strength and organize it better and run it better. It's just saying that in the good times you don't really learn much because it's the good times. Everybody's singing "Kumbaya" and just everything sailing very smooth. You'll really learn when it's a bad time. What did you learn at good times? Not much. What did you learn at bad times? Oh, I can tell you the stories that I've learned. So I take it as a learning time, and it's okay. Like you said, real estate has cycles. I remember 2008, we moved here from Pennsylvania to Phoenix. 2009, when we arrived, every other house on the block had foreclosure or short sale. It was like a very, very distressed market. And I remember this vividly. And not even 5 years later, everything just started booming again. So it's going in the circles. We just need to get to that point where we can cycle through, and everything's going to be fine. But yeah, turning into God into this time, and very important, and the reminding ourselves that we're here, and at the end of the day, we're all we're also just a vessel, and we're just doing our job, and hopefully with the leading powers above us, we'll get through everything.
What are some of your favorite ways that, in your role right now as a company with Rise 48, where we're, doing good, giving back, serving our residents? What are some of your favorite things that you get to be a part of that really show that?
Yeah, we love our kickball tournaments. We love everything that has to do with people meeting the entire team. When everybody comes in any shape or form, we volunteered at the St. Vincent de Paul as a team. We organize the kickball tournaments, sport events, get-togethers. I know we went to the desert on the four wheelers. It was just everything that relates to team coming together. I love it, and I love visit properties. I haven't been to the property for a long time now, but just opportunity to meet with the staff and hear their stories, meet their wives, their kids. We throw Christmas parties every year, and that's a great time to meet the wives, the counterparts, and then like we're talking to Zach always, like we look at the people that come into the parties and realize, man, we're responsible for many lives, many meals, and that is a very humbling on its own. Just making sure that we're here for a lot of people. We're here for our employees. We're here for our investors and our residents. So combining all three verticals, all three aspects of the business is sometimes challenging, but it's a very humbling that there's so many people relying on us.
Maybe just talking more about leadership and just kind of character development. I think you were really right on that people learn probably the most through the trials or the hard times. What do you think is the hardest leadership lesson that God has taught you, and how did it come about, and what were some of the things you learned from it?
Um, I think I want to say that generally in relationship with investors and especially from the Christian angle, I want to be able to say yes when a yes is due and no when a no is due, and a lot of times it's hard. I've been talking to some of my friends that are, you know, non-believers or whatever, and it seems to me sometimes that it's a lot easier when you hear stories about the companies that are doing something fraudulent. I often wonder like how easy this is for them. Like it's mind-boggling. I'm trying to lead, and I know this for Zach too. When we met, we kind of told ourselves like we're not going to do this, and we're not going to do this to each other. We're not going to do this to our investors. Now, not everything is always rosy, and there's also challenges. But having in the back of my mind that the Christian values come first, and if I go with emotions with this thought first, I can't lie. I don't want to lie, especially being Catholic. I don't know other than the denominations do that, but so Catholics like I want to go to confession, and I want to meet the priest, and I do this regularly, and I confess and I tell my sins. And every single time when I leave, it's just go in peace and sin no more, and you do no penance. And so I don't want to keep coming back with the same sins. And we're all sinners, so there's going to be sins, there's going to be mistakes, but I want to avoid. Three things in business: pride, that oftentimes leads to lying, and lying leads to laziness. Those three things. And if you think about those three on a daily basis, in your relationships with your investors and your employees, I think you're going to be good. The hardest part oftentimes is, this temptation to like skew the data, skew the numbers, and not tell the whole picture. It's very tempting, and I bet for a lot of people it's very easy. It's just not. It's not us. And also telling the truth oftentimes may not be well recognized. Let's just say that. it's hard to say it, and almost a lot of times might be brutal, but it's always better to tell the truth, no matter what it is. There's this philosopher called, his name is Arthur Schopenhauer. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he nicely described the three steps of truth process. What you're going through for the truth, right? The first is the truth is ridiculed. The second phase is violently opposed, and the third and the last phase of the truth is being the truth being accepted as being self-evident, and the process of getting the truth out there and being actually sometimes being on a calls 2, 3, 4 times with the same investor and just walking through again and then again and then again and explaining what's happening and why it's happening. It's hard, but again, at the end of the day, I want to go home and I want to look in the mirror and then say, "Hey, you did good."
There was so many profound nuggets you just shared there. Thank you so much. There was so much wisdom. Just want to double click on a couple of those things because I think, you know, as faith driven leaders, we're called to be courageous, and often courage is doing what is right, even when no one is watching, because ultimately God's always seeing.
That's the hardest.
And it's the hardest thing to do. And, you know, business, there's seasons, right? There's boom seasons and there's bust seasons. And in those hard times, I think a tendency many people have is when it gets hard, you slink back, you turn down communication. You know, we've gone through a challenging season over the last couple of years as a company, and it seems like the leaders are leaning in and turning up the communication, which I think is so refreshingly healthy and has made me really excited to be a part of this team because I think that what that does is it actually plants seeds of trust. Even when things are bad, I know that Rise is going to be honest. They're not going to fabricate the numbers, and they're going to do what is right, even if it's really, really challenging. And as a founder, you know, you've had to contribute at a probably a much higher level during those challenging times to really protect the people and ultimately the investors. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, that's been challenging too. My wife sometimes says that I feel like I go to work to bring money to you. You have to deploy to help the Rice 48. It hasn't been like that all the time, but it's been time that the three of us had to step in and kind of fill the gaps where the gaps needed to be filled without even notifying investors and letting them know that like we're helping in some of the operations. But it's those are the things that you have to do, and that's it. And we're in very very good shape today. But the first decision in when something goes wrong, and something was going wrong, was the three of us like, hey, we're the first ones, right? The buck stops with us. We need to step up, and whether it's financially or operationally or personally or being more involved in every single level, that I feel like we've done that very well. So it's like what's it called? The walk, talk the talk. Yeah, something like that, right? And I can say the same with you can translate this to the personal life, right? Like I think a lot of young people when they look at the parents, especially the if you're a family of faith, when you go to what I think that's just what I think. You go to church and you can be in church and you can pray and the kids will be there with you and they're gonna watch. They're very very smart creatures. They watch what the priest is saying, or the minister or the pastor. They look at you and the reactions and how involved you are. And generally speaking, if you go to church, you're a good person. I mean, you'll be portrayed as a good person. So you sit uh, through the mass, and then I think what's important more than the mass. Well, the mass is very important, but how you behave after you leave the mass. Because the kids would say, "Well, Dad, you were awesome in the church, and you seem to be all in there and praying, and then the minute you step out of church, you were driving home, your behavior changes. Like, why are you a different person there and you're a different person? So I think the hardest part for Christians or Catholics, or any, I guess, person of faith, is being the same in the house of God and outside of the house of God. If you can have the same values here and the same values here, and just kind of show it to your kids, because otherwise they're not going to believe you. They're not going to believe in church. They're not going to believe in that. It's like, this is all bogus. This is all BS. You different here, different here. This is just a show. It's like no other than show on TV. But if you and that's really hard to act and behave the same in church and at home. You can do that, then your kids will be like, wow, there's actually something out there. There's actually worth going, worth listening. And I've been blessed to meet a lot of families like that, and I think I'm seeing more and more youth being drawn to the church. I know there's this propaganda out there that, the religion is dead, there's no God, and yada yada. But I think I'm seeing more people returning to the faith, returning, especially young men. I'm joined this gym here in Phoenix, in Scottsdale. Very interesting concept. It's a great gym. It's very faith oriented. It's kind of refreshing to hear the stories and see the men that are like in 20s and 30s meeting before the gym starts and holding hands and pray, and they're all like big, muscular, like macho looking guys, and they're just like in a circle. Like, you start the day, and then you go to the gym, and then you go to work. It's just amazing. I don't know. I see more and more people, I think, returning or looking at least for faith. I think at some level, people look for God. I think on different levels, and even non-believers. I think when you dig into it, people always will look for something that is higher than themselves. For us, it's hopefully Jesus Christ and it's God. But I know there's people that are looking for those higher powers through, I don't know, yoga, through some Reiki healing, so acupuncture healing and pranic healing, and there's so many out there. They will travel across the world to put their back against some chakram and getting energy from the chakram and rubbing their backs. To me, this all looks like they're actually yearning for God, but they just don't know that, or they just reject that idea that God, that's stupid, but the rock, I believe that rock, but God, no, that's for stupid people. So I don't know. Like I think I'm not laughing at it. I'm just saying that I think people that do not believe in this pranic healing and chakrams, at some level, they are looking for God. They just didn't get there yet. So I think it's important to talk about it, to maybe bring them in and tell them, hey, maybe instead of rubbing your back, on the chakram, just read some scriptures and see if that's gonna make more sense to you. But who am I?
Yeah, really, really, really good insight there. And I think a lot of people in business who are leaders, I know they see the problems in the world. They want to be a part of solving those, or they see creation, and you can't. It's undeniable the beauty of what God has made, and it makes you wonder what is out there. And I think the God of the Bible is yearning for relationship with His children, and he offers himself. What other God out there wants a real relationship with people? And I think we overcomplicate what that has to look like. And for some people, it's their faith community. For some people, it's the Holy Scripture. But if anyone's listening to this, and you've heard Robert talk about his experience, and going to that property and seeing the the terrible conditions, right? And you see a problem in the world, right? And you want to do something about it. It's often you can either think about doing it yourself, or you can partner with God to help solve some of those problems. And for a lot of people, showing up and being a faithful employee and being courageous and doing the right thing, even if no one's watching, that could be a step, right? I think sometimes we overcomplicate how to get started, and maybe it's just listening to this podcast and hearing the stories and hearing, Robert and his vision of how he wants to be, a leader in the company and in the world today. I think you're right. More as caught than taught, right? So if you can do an activity, volunteer, serve in some way, you might catch a vision for creating impact.
Well, and it won't always be easy. There's gonna be hard times, and again, again, it goes back to this: what did I learn in the good times? Nothing. But in the hard times, I've learned this and this and this. And sometimes I think God makes the life hard for us, and in order to teach us something, and we maybe don't recognize this. We look at these crumbles and we don't recognize those crumbles, but when you start thinking about it, like put them together, it's like, oh my God, that was a sign. This was a sign. I just didn't recognize it at the time. But yeah, life sometimes is hard, and you have to make hard decisions. Every single one of us has some kind of a burden, and we bring this burden to God, and you drop it in front of His feet, and then you pick it up again, and it just like seems like you're carrying it back and forth, and in Catholics we call it, you have your own cross, and you carry your own cross like Jesus Christ carried His own cross. Each one of us has a cross, and sometimes you carry this cross for the rest of your life. Recognizing the blessing in carrying the cross is the hardest part, in my opinion. That's supposed to bring you closer to God, and again, it's hard sometimes to recognize it, because when you have a cross and you have a burden, you think about the earthly things first, like how do I solve it first, instead of recognizing and giving it to God and say, oh, this is why I have that, and this is what you want me to do with it. I don't know if you guys, one of my favorite shows is Chosen, that I watched a few times, and I now actually go back now, and I started to watch it with Robert Jr. I think not every single thing in that story of Chosen is biblical. Some things do not have any relation with Bible. But I don't look at this like that. I look at this show that is supposed to bring young people, and it's like those are the disciples. Those are this Jesus is right there. And they had their own problems. They were not perfect. Simon and Peter, he was not perfect, and God chose them, and But one of the scenes is in I can't remember which episode this was, but the little James comes. I don't know if you guys remember, if you know, little James was limping, and there was a scene when Jesus sends all the disciples to the world and said, like, now you go and you're gonna have the same ability like me. You're gonna go and heal people. You're gonna make miracles. You're gonna do miracles. All of you, and they're about to disperse, and little James comes limping to Jesus and asks, like, they have a long discussion, and but essentially he goes like, why didn't you heal me? And Jesus says, little James, my precious little James, do you want to be healed? Yes, if it's possible, I want to be healed. And he goes like, I think you've seen enough miracles to know that it's possible. So why didn't you? And then Jesus tells him that, if I healed you right now and you went to heal others, it will be a good story. And little James says, hey, it will be a great story. But then Jesus says, but imagine now if you're not healed and you still go out there and you heal others and you put me and healing above your personal discomfort. How great story is this? That despite your limping, despite your burden, your cross, you still go out there and you still proclaim the word of Jesus. You still do work in my name. Wouldn't that be a great story? That's even better story, because I can heal hundreds and thousands of people, but we picked you because, not everybody can be picked to do that. Because again, not a lot of people will recognize it, and not a lot of people will look at it that way. But the cross, the burden, the limping, whatever you have in your life, it's put on you for a reason. Sometimes God or Jesus wants you to, take it on and continue to work through it and be the living proof that despite of what's going on in your life, you're still believing, you're still proclaiming His word. That's hard. That's hard. But if you can't do that, that's like, what else? What other proof do you want to have?
Man, yeah, what a great episode! And if you haven't watched The Chosen, you got to go check it out. Really, really good.
It's a great scene.
You've dropped so many really good nuggets here, Robert. We may have to have you come back on again to share some more, because it was really, really good. So thanks for all the sharing. Is there anything else you want to leave with our audience? You've already shared so much.
No, I think Matthew 7:7. Keep on asking. Yes, ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. If you just stay curious in your faith journey, and I love that part, because for me, being an immigrant, and I came here, I have met so many generous people, and literally that Matthew 7:7 is perfect, because I've asked for help and I received. I knocked on the door and the doors were open. I literally came with a suitcase, and to get to where I am today, it was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of people that helped along the way, especially my wife. There's so much credit I have to give to my wife. As you can say, she was probably my biggest mentor in life, and having that spouse that you can rely on, and the family and God, in combination with all this, it's just amazing. So, coming from the communist country where everything is just like, you don't trust your neighbor, you don't trust anybody, because this could be the secret police, it could be someone who's going to tell on you. The mentality was like, it was for me and my wife, we were like, we're in this on our own. And to open it up to partner, to businesses, to investors, to open up completely and then just create this completely different environment, it was a mental challenge. But asking for help and receiving, it's like, what do I ask? I have to rely on myself. What am I asking? I'm not going to ask. But then as I started to find out, people here are just fantastic. And generally, people are fantastic. If you ask, you will be given. So go ask and given. And if you have any challenges in your life, or you're on a crossroads and you don't know what to do, I find a lot of answers talking to Him. A lot.
And really good words. If people want to learn more about you or get connected to you, where's the best place for them to do that?
Our website is Rise 48 Equity. Just connect with there. There's all of our contacts are there. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for being on the episode. This has been really good.
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it.
Thank you for hanging out with us today and for listening to the On the Rise podcast. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing said on this show should be considered financial advice. Before making any financial decisions, please consult with a professional. This show is copyrighted by the On the Rise podcast. Written permissions must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.